A lot of you guys know me, but in case we haven't met, um, I'm Jenny Roland Barker from HorseGirl.me. I'm the co-creator of the horse training channel, and I get to co-create with Charlotte Cannon on the Cannon Method. I'm a two-time world champion, and I've been in the horse space for many, many years. But you girls that know me, you also know the truth about me. The reason I know so much about fear is I have dealt with it. I have dealt with fear. I've dealt with anxiety. I've dealt with depression off and on since my early 20s. And it's actually been kind of a blessing and a curse because it's allowed me to learn so many different things that I'm able to help other people. So the reason, I'm not just someone that's reading this stuff out of a book or whatever. I go out and I use this stuff and it helps me to overcome my anxieties. So this is our Ride Fearlessly Plan guided workshop. So I'm going to teach you in our 2 hours together to learn to create a plan that fits you to overcome any type of fear. So a lot of times we don't think of ourselves as being fearful, but there's little things that are holding us back that are fear related. But we're going to overcome that to create confidence, connected leadership, and trust in yourself that will transform your horsemanship. I promise it will. And it possibly could change your life. I know it's changed mine. And you're going to do this. I'm going to teach you what I've learned so you don't have to waste another minute trying to figure it all out on your own. So what if there was a way to stop feeling the fear and just doing it anyway, and start feeling the fear and solving it? So this is for you if you've ever gotten hurt or are afraid you might get hurt. You guys know that I don't know anyone who doesn't know this fear at one time or another, that fear of putting our foot back in the stirrup where you just stand there like and you're frozen and you're like, okay, 1, 2, 3, and you're like counting to yourself or whatever it takes, just mustering up every bit of courage to get on your horse and just hoping beyond hope that your horse is going to be good. Maybe you have doubt in yourself, which is an area of fear, and one that I am actually very familiar with, that one too. And maybe you're stuck in analysis paralysis and you feel like you're ready to push forward with your horse, but you just sometimes feel unsure of yourself and you're worried that you're possibly forcing her or him to do something they don't want to do, that might make her unhappy, might cause her to get hurt or get sick. Maybe you have this nagging fear of being judged by your family or your friends or your fellow equestrians for the way you ride or the way your horse behaves. And you're like sitting on the proverbial rail, like watching everybody else riding on the inside. And you're thinking that you're not enough and you don't have what it takes. So there's more though, even from that. Together, we're going to create an action plan to fight those hundreds of what if questions that pop in your heads that hold us back from our horses. And for us horse girls, if we aren't doing our horse goals, and you know who you are. If there's people that love horses, and then there's lifestyle horse girls like we are. And when we're not able to push through what we really want to do with our horses, it holds us back in our lives in some area or another. But you can conquer any horse related fear. Even if you've been hurt in the past, you're paralyzed from the fear of judgment, you feel like you've tried everything, so you can truly enjoy your horse at the deepest level without worry. And this doesn't matter what discipline you ride, what kind of horse you have, or if you even ride at home at all. Like so many people nowadays are doing Liberty and there's non-ridden in equines, but it doesn't mean that we don't have these little emotions that hold us back. So I made a whole bunch of promises here. So hold my IST and I'm going to tell you what I'm going to teach you. So I'm going to give you the equestrian emergency work through fear system with bonus worksheet that every horse girl and guy must have to quickly create confidence with a fear defeating plan. So you can see on one page, actually it's going to be 4 or 5 pages, on how to take action. And forgive all my notes on my screen. I just wanted to make sure that I didn't forget anything. So I just typed it all out. So I also want you to be able to name the 4 main types of equestrian fear. So you can help your friends as they're going through things. Because like I said, we're all dealing with this stuff all the time. And you can also stop feeling the fear and do it anyway and start solving it, because you're going to be able to take action. You're going to learn how to become friends with fear so you can understand it and work together with fear instead of trying to fight it or just ignore it or just like pretending it's not happening. You're going to learn the indispensable skills of connected leadership. And I know this will be a review for a lot of you guys, but it's so important. We need to get it down into our being. You're going to learn how to earn leadership, even if you don't feel like a leader, without force, without chasing or submissive pressure. So you can become the type of leader that your horse loves to follow. We've all seen the horse in the pasture where they're definitely the boss, right? But they're not definitely the leader. You're going to learn to develop the crucial skills of comfort zones, boundaries, expectations, and balance. So you know how to progress and go forward. We're going to share some training from Charlotte Cannon that just makes it so clear. I got special permission from her to share it a while back because I can't even, she nailed it so good. I can't even top that. So we're going to check that out. And you're going to learn the CAPE technique to understand your horse's body language and become a horse listener so you can keep yourself and your horse safe. And then I'm going to give you and present to you my brand new look at our equestrian circle of confidence. This is going to give you clarity of the essential skills that you need to work on to handle, ride, and train your horse with trust in yourself, to create trust in your horse so you can tell the voices of doubt in your head that they can just zip it because you have a plan and you know what you're working on. So I'm so excited. This is new. I haven't shared it with you guys in the groups yet. So I'm super excited to get to that. So I want you to remember up front, because if we talk about this a lot, Charlotte reminds us that everything matters and everything means something with our horses. But we don't always talk about that everything matters that we feel and everything means something. Like I think we're kind of taught, or maybe I'm just, projecting my own self. A lot of times, and I don't mean this anyway, I have really nice parents, but it's kind of like sometimes you were taught your feelings didn't matter. So I think we've learned more and more to ignore them. Like you shouldn't be sad, you shouldn't be mad, you shouldn't be scared, you shouldn't be this, you shouldn't be that. And then we just kind of stuff it and we don't listen to our horse girly intuition anymore. We've stopped trusting ourselves. So let's get started with our emergency working through fear system and worksheet that every horse, guy and gal should have to quickly make a plan on the fly. So I want this to be kind of a go-to for you when things come up. Can you guys let me know in the chat, like how many of you guys were able to print this out? Do you want me to make sure, because I blanked out certain words. If y'all don't have the worksheet, we don't have to go through it that same way, because I know I didn't get it to you still just a little bit ago. So can you just say yes worksheet or no worksheet? And you'll get it after the class too. Yes, no, maybe so. Yay, Karen has a worksheet. Okay, yay, okay. We'll go through it that way then. So this is going to be the beginning there at the top where we define fear. So fear defined is an unpleasant emotion caused by the belief that someone or something is dangerous and likely to cause pain or a threat. The fear response comes from sensing danger. Fear is the body's way of protecting itself from doing things that might be dangerous. That's okay, Terry, don't worry. You'll see it all on here. So that blank spot there is the word is protecting. Like we forget that fear is trying to protect us, right or wrong. I don't know why my little slides don't keep pausing on me. In Susan Jeffers' book, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, she says, like, I went through a lot of the chapters and stuff, but then the bottom line thing that she comes to is at the bottom of every one of your fears is simply the fear that you can't handle whatever life may bring you. If you knew you could handle anything that came your way, what would you possibly have to fear? The answer is nothing. This is very much simplifying things, isn't it? Sorry, excuse me. But if we think of the things we're really, really scared of, like sickness or things with our kids, things with finances, like the big major fears of life, it's like, I just don't know if I could handle it if that kind of thing happened. But this was kind of funny. Today, I took my horses to the farrier, and I'm going to try to not tell a bunch of stories because it makes our class go really long. But I took Gracie and Charlie to the farrier, and he said he is a really confident guy. Like sometimes it's hard to like people like that, but he really is really, really nice. And he said, he was talking about building things and fixing things. He's like, well, I can do anything. I know I can do anything. And I was like, gosh, I can't think that I've ever said anything like that. But that is exactly fits perfectly for our class. Like he knows that whatever happens, that he can handle it, that he can get his way out of it. He can do anything. So I say, Susan Jeffers says, feel the fear and do it anyway. But this came from a conversation with Charlotte. So I always give her credit for it too. We say, feel the fear and solve it. Like, let's not just feel it and jump into stuff. Let's feel it and then figure out what's going on with it and what we're going to do about it. So if fear is lack of trust, then the opposite would be, if fear is the lack of trust that we can handle something, the opposite would be confidence. So confidence is a Latin word that means with intense trust and with full trust. And you guys, horse girls that have been with me forever, you've heard this a million times. But what it doesn't mean is that you'll never be afraid. It does mean that you've developed enough trust in yourself that you can handle anything that life throws your way. It means you trust yourself that you can figure things out. And that's what this is all about tonight. It's my job to help you to start to trust yourself. And I'm not talking in an airy-fairy way. I'm talking in a practical way. Because you've always had the power, my dear. You just had to learn it for yourself. So Brendon Burchard has this quote that says, self-doubt is not a signal to stop. Self-doubt is a signal to lean in, to prepare, to get better. If you take self-doubt and make it self-hatred, you're not going to have your breakthrough. So I want to just, self-hatred is pretty extreme, but if we take it and make it mean there's something wrong with us, which so many girls in our group think there's something wrong with us when we're afraid, you're never going to get past it. When we just can take it as information, we can work through it. So I'm not going to just suggest in any way that you think mind over matter. You guys know me better than that. This hope horsemanship thing, just being positive and wishful thinking, as much as that's what we teach and what we're all about, in believing in ourselves, but I don't believe it's a safe horsemanship strategy. And you can get hurt. I want you to put a training foundation under this. And that's a lot of what we're going to talk about here tonight. And I'm not going to suggest in any way, shape, or form that you ignore areas you feel fear or unsure of yourself. In fact, I'm going to tell you exactly the opposite of that. So on our worksheet, and you don't have to have it, but you could just think this out. This is a little piece of our one-page plan that we work through. I want you to think about where you want to be. Like, just pick out one area. It gets a little confusing. I have multiple fears, and I probably have different fear with each one of my horses. So we could work that all out. I probably have different fears of each little area of my life. So just think about one thing. So we'll be able to kind of zip through this, and then you can keep this fear buster worksheet for anything that you're going through. Like, where do you want to be? Is it something that you just want to trail ride with your horse, or you just want to be able to go and maybe do a little showing, or you just want to go out and do playground of safety and feel safe that you can just sit there and be safe, or do a little liberty, or something like that. It doesn't have to be a big giant definition, just a little bit there. And then think about, where are you today? Like, what's happening today if you really go out there? And so for example, and this isn't right now, but this would have been for a couple months ago, I would share with you little stories about my now 3-year-old Will, how he felt so aggressive. And I had to practice what I was preaching and trust that I wasn't wrong. Like, he felt like he wanted to bite me. And just doing playground of safety was a big deal. When I would make my bubble, he would come in harder instead of backing off. He wouldn't back off the pressure. And I just wanted to be able, at that point, I just wanted to be able to sit with him and feel safe. But at that time, I couldn't say that I could do that. And it was embarrassing. You know, I covered all the fear definitions that we're about to talk about here in a minute. It was embarrassing. It was a vulnerable fear for me to tell people. I'm a confidence coach. I didn't want to tell people I'm scared of my horse, but I was a little scared of him. So that's where I would say I was at that day. At that day. Now today, thankfully, we've worked through it, and I'm where I want to be with him. At least I can feel safe, and we're able to learn, and he's having fun learning. So what's in between here is the magic stuff, I think. It's the space where we have some control of what we can do about it, even though it doesn't feel like it, especially if you have like a paralyzing type of fear. If you've gotten hurt really bad and you're just stuck, like you feel like there's nothing you can do about that. And you're like, don't talk to me about the magic spot. But it's true. There's a magic space in here where we can do something about it, and we can dream up how to make it different, no matter how hard it is right now today. So for right now, let's write in our space right under there, or just think about that. My fear is whatever it is, that's that little piece that's holding you back. And you know what? If it's something like health or the world right now is a little scary. If it's something about other than horses, you can change this worksheet, and it works for that too. We talk about we're going to dive into like some really big picture view of horsemanship, ways to handle things, but the leadership piece works for all things of our life. So it's okay to have multiple fears, but let's pick one to focus right now. So let's just look back really quickly on our simple definition of fear, and then I better speed up because I have a whole bunch of stuff to cover. But let's remember that the fear response comes from sensing danger. The fear is the body's way of protecting itself from doing things that might be dangerous. So in order to know how to handle fear, we need to put a name to it. So there's 4 main common types of fear when it comes to horses. There's a valid fear. That's like a fear that there's a high likelihood of getting hurt, such as if you ride a horse that has bucked you off multiple times and you have not gone out and done your groundwork and gone back to square one. There's a high likelihood that it's going to happen again. Like, I don't want to be negative Nancy here, but that is what I'm talking about. Horsemanship. That is not hoping you're going to be okay. It's not the right thing to do. There's an anxious fear, and that's the likelihood of getting hurt is not great, but it is possible. So perhaps you're being triggered by a memory of the past or a story you heard from someone else. And I really think that this can relate to trauma. If we've had really stressful, something happened to us way back in our past that we don't even know why we trigger that way. Like I trigger, my husband and I end up laughing, but he will come, just he's just walking in the room. There's no one else here. And I will scream like he's a murderer. And I just have had stuff where I still have places of trauma in my life. If you've had an accident on a horse and your horse barely startles, it's going to trigger you, right? So that's an anxious type fear. So it's not that we should poo poo all our anxious fears, because some of them are very valid. They're valid not in the likelihood that you're going to get hurt, but it is real to you. And then there's the fear of judgment. That'd be that fear of not being good enough, that fear of self-doubt. What will others think? Like if you compete, this is the most common one. You get to look at other people's horses. Am I as good as that person? Is my horse as good as that horse? Those are fears of judgment. And then us horse girls, we get the bonus fear, the fear of losing control. And meaning there would be just that fear that we can't handle our horse, like that we can't hold them, or we can't, just the fear of losing control of them. If they're running away really fast and you can't get back a hold of them, that would be our fear of losing control. So it's just like each one of these thousands of what if questions, the ones that we ask ourselves all the time, if you're at all an anxious person, that it'll fit somewhere in one of those 4 types of fears. Those things like, what if I get hurt? What if I can't handle my horse? What if I can't shake this fear after my injury? What if people think I'm not good enough and judge why I even ride? Like that even happens to people at home, especially us older horse girls. Our family may say, why are you riding? Because, why is your horse doing that? And why is this? And why is that? And then you're in there in the vulnerable fear. So over on our Fear Buster worksheet, I've listed these out. So we have our valid fear, the one on the top. The second one is an anxious fear. The third one is a vulnerability fear. And the fourth one is the fear of losing control. So just circle one of them and kind of put a name or a category to what it is that you are needing to work through right now. And always honor what you're feeling. And remember, like, safety first. Don't just tell yourself, oh, I shouldn't be afraid. Oh, I shouldn't this or that. Because I can honestly tell you, and at this point, I've talked to hundreds of horse girls, and almost everyone who has ever had an accident or something will say something to the effect of, I knew I shouldn't have ridden that day, or I knew something was off with my mare. Like, so you need to ask yourself, what is this fear telling you? So until we can feel safe, so I know you guys have all seen this before, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We learned this. I remember learning this in 6th grade, but I know I didn't pay attention. But until we can take care of our need to feel safe, we can't move into deeper levels of relationship. So first, we need food, water, warmth, and rest. And then if we need to be able to feel safe, and then you can go to the next level of relationships, and only then. So we have to take care of this stuff. If you don't feel safe, you may have a love for your horse, but you don't have the capacity to have the connection. And the same is true for them. So this is Charlotte's hierarchy of needs. She put safety first, then comfort, then food, then relaxation, and then they could finally play and connect and learn. And she says, horses and people need certain things in a certain order to be okay. If we're aware of this, we can use it to our benefit in the training process. This is a quote from a business coach of mine that wrote a book, Do It Scared. Her name is Ruth Soukup, and she says, fear is a funny thing. It's one of our most basic instincts, intended to protect us from all those dangers that might cause us harm and to jolt us to action when a threat becomes imminent. Our fear is designed to save us. And interestingly enough, a lack of fear in perilous situations could actually be a sign of mental illness. We're supposed to be scared, not as scared. We're supposed to be scared. And yet, that same fear can also be an invisible chain that ties us down and keeps us stuck. Instead of keeping us safe, it paralyzes us and prevents us from moving forward, from taking risks or putting ourselves out there, from having the courage to follow our dreams and create a life we love. The very instinct designed to protect us also holds us back. Oh my gosh, that's awesome, Bethany. Yeah, I worked with her last year. I actually went to a retreat with her and met her in person. She's very cool. But she's very good at honing in these things. But think about this, like this very instinct that's designed to protect us also holds us back and keeps us frozen. But so it's empowering to start to see fear not as something against us, but it's a friend that's trying to keep us safe. And if we can learn to work with it instead of trying to fight it, block it, or just flat pretend it's not happening, like the freeze kind of thing that we see our horses do, how we so often, or I should say I do it very often too. I'll catch myself freezing like a horse. But if we can get past this and start to see, why do I feel this? And then how do I work with this? It's so empowering. So by doing this, it allows us to not only just become friends with fear, like it sounds kind of corny, but we can finally do something about it. So let's first address the valid fear, because this comes up most often in our classes and in our horsemanship. And we'll actually talk about this a pretty good bit here for our time together. So we're going to talk about how do we address this with connected leadership and horsemanship fundamentals. So I'm just going to be throwing at you a whole bunch of ideas. So I forgot to say on the bottom of our page where it said there's a little blank, it's that blank there where it says it's empowering to start to see fear as a friend. So that word is friend. So once we can kind of, I'm going to give you like all of these like ingredients that you could bake up something awesome. And then we're going to pull from those to put it into your plan. So let's talk about the indispensable skill of connected leadership, how to earn it, even if you don't feel like a leader, without force, chasing, or submissive pressure. So I'm just going to give you like a list of things that are kind of ways to being. And then on your printout, you can remind yourself that you really are these things. You are these things. It is in you. We just have to start showing up and owning it. So connected leadership is about putting the horse's well-being first. It's about empathy. It's about compassion. It's about being a caretaker. It's about taking a role as being responsible for bringing out the best in your horse, right? Instead of saying, my horse is spooky, my horse is this, my horse is that. This helps us to not put the name on them the same way we don't want a name put on us, and then go in and find the best parts of them. So I'm sorry, I didn't write down who asked this question. I don't know if you're here or not, but one of us just got a new horse. So these are some really cool things to kind of step into your best self as you go in and learn about your horse more. So this is actually 15 game-changing leadership shifts to become the type of leader your horse will love to follow. And this does not include like showing her who's boss and those kinds of old ways that we would do things, like when I was growing up, that we would just have to kind of push our horse into doing things that, you know, we would just ride through stuff. And I think that that's where so many people got hurt through the years and ended up getting out of the horses. But so these are rules of being that you will want to incorporate into your nature in order to freelance and combine principles for what you need in the moment. So hopefully this just gives you guys a bunch of ideas. I know this is a review for a bunch of you guys. So number one is the almighty confidence. Jan, was that you that had that question about working through with your new horse? I'm going to be so excited if it's you. So we'll just bring that up. Well, even if it wasn't you, if you have any questions as I go, that and just let me know. Okay. Okay, that's awesome. I'm so glad that you're here and that we're this. I think this would be awesome to like have this as and starting as on a clean slate. So number one is confidence. So remember what confidence means. It is the Latin word that means intense trust and with full trust. And my gosh, my whole life, if I at the end of my life, I could say this with all honesty, I have full trust in myself. That will be awesome. So I have days that are better than other days. So that's what I just want to be vulnerable and honest with you about that look how long I've been practicing this, and I'll still have days where I'm off a little bit. And just remember that it means that you've developed enough trust in yourself that you can handle anything that life throws your way. So I've shared this story so many times, and I'll just kind of give you the highlights thing here of it. But several years back, I had I actually feel silly telling this story because I know so many horse girls are in here. You guys are like, not the Fred story again. But hopefully it will trigger a memory and you guys, it will help you. So I went to France and I was learning from the amazing Frederic Pignon, who is one of the original creators of Cavalia. And what I thought I was going there, I had never done Liberty. I mean, I did a little like Clinton Anderson type Liberty where I got my horse to follow me and that kind of thing. But I never did anything like 5 stallions in the ring and all of that kind of stuff. And what I thought I was doing, I do know what I was doing. I was going to see how he connected so deeply with the horses and so softly, because I knew, being a horse show person, that there just had to be a different way. There just had to be a different way. But this story is not about the horses, it was about me. But so I go out there and he's such a nice person, but he is also very direct. He's French, and he says, you have a nice way about you with the horses, but you have to learn to trust yourself. So, and I've seen this in my video so many times where I could see the hesitancy in me, where I'm just hesitating that little tiny bit. And a lot of women do this. I've studied this at horse shows so much, where the guys just go around the pen and they never let up. And the girls, a lot of times, we will just hesitate a little tiny bit. Not everyone, of course, but I could see this in myself. So it was just so wild, like that. I thought I was covering all this up, that I thought I was, doing all my posture things. And I didn't think others could see it, but he read me just like a book. And he said, though, this is what I think is so deeply profound that we need to adopt in our horsemanship, like starting immediately. He said, if you don't believe yourself, your horse will not believe you either. So isn't that like, really just let that sink in? If you do not believe yourself, your horse will not believe you either. So that could mean that you are telling your horse, hey, we can just ride across the pasture. But in your heart, you're like, oh no, oh crap, what if he bucks me off? And blah, blah, like your mind is doing this, and you're not believing yourself that you can really do it. So he is not going to believe it either. Like, I don't think you have to be an empath or a psychic to really, we would read that off each other when we say those things. But as I was leaving, he's like this brilliant artist. He's so cool. But he wrote on my page, he was giving me my, the last minute words of advice. And he says, you have to trust yourself. You have to believe yourself. And then he signed my painting, Be Brave. So we have to trust yourself. Like, I hope this inspires you, like him saying that to you, to just like start questioning, where am I not trusting myself? And again, I'm not telling you to just give yourself positive affirmations and go jump on your horse and not do your groundwork. Like, that's not what I'm saying at all. Trust yourself that you can learn to do groundwork and you can be the leader that your horse needs you to be. So it sounds so easy, all that stuff, like it sounds easy. Trust yourself, everyone. But we know it's not like that. It's not that easy. But remember this key. If you don't believe yourself, your horse will not believe you either. This is all in you. We just have to find it. The second thing is boundaries. So I didn't write this down properly. Oh my gosh, my glasses are in the other room. You guys are going to have to laugh at me because these glasses sitting here are broken. Okay, boundaries. I didn't get this all written up, but it says, both you and your horse must be able to say what is okay for you and not okay. Dr. Henry Cloud has a quote that says, a boundary is a personal property line that marks those things for which we are responsible. Physical boundaries help us to determine who may touch us and under what circumstances. Mental boundaries give us the freedom to have our own thoughts and opinions. Emotional boundaries help us to deal with our own emotions. So sorry I didn't get this all written out, but this is like so important. The bottom line of it is boundaries, that both you and your horse must be able to say what is okay for you and what's not okay for you. Like, isn't that cool? I remember being assigned that book in counseling a really long time ago. And then the next one on our list is presence. I changed this list and my slides were wrong. So I was at the last minute, like scrambling to make the list match our worksheet. So that's why I have my broken glasses on. I'm so cool. I feel really confident right now. Just kidding. Presence is the ability to be in the moment, showing up as your best self with a contagious energy of joy and happiness. The horses love this. We talk about presence so much. But it's basically is this like showing up as your best self. Bethany, do you want me to unmute you? I see your hand is raised. Let me know in the chat if you want me to unmute you. And then the fourth one is compassion. So compassion is different than empathy or altruism. It's defined as generally, it's empathy refers more generally to our ability to take the perspective of and feel the emotions of another person. Then compassion is when those feelings or thoughts include the desire to help. So it's not like when we just like can empathize with someone. When we have compassion and we are a compassionate leader, we have a desire to help. I'm trying to see. Oh, it's okay, Bethany. I was like, oh, good. Someone else wants to talk. I was all excited. Okay, so ask yourself, are his or her needs met? Those needs of safety, comfort, food, relaxation, and play. And then ask yourself, how can I help? How can I help? That's what a compassionate leader would do. And then number 5 is clarity. Clarity is a clear vision of what you want and why. So considering that your horse is hardwired to mirror you, it's so important to have the ability to see in your mind with a picture what you want. Oh my gosh, this is driving me crazy. Okay, there is a quote from Horse Mastership by Margaret Cabell South, and she says, the final qualification necessary in a trainer is that he must have a clear picture in his own mind as to what constitutes a perfectly trained horse. That you may never attain this, but this was even back like in the 40s, that she's even saying you have to have this clear picture. So it's not just modern day science that is making this a qualification of leadership. Um, and also, you get to make the rules. This is your horse. This is your life. You get to make the rules. So what are they? Number 6 is balance in both your body and your mind. In a herd, the leader has the most balance. And if you are not balanced, then you're not believed. So if you think about that, the horses are just wanting to be safe. Their number one thing on their hierarchy of needs. So what Frederic does before he goes out in the ring with like 5 stallions, he'll make sure he can balance on one foot. So physically balance, and then he has mental balance. And we dive in deeper in this in our programs, but just keep that in mind. And you know what? I've heard stories of, I hope I could say this right, like horses used in therapy. Like if someone has a like 2 personalities or something like that, or they're not being authentic, when they'll switch from being their true selves to the other self, the horse will sometimes bite them. Like the horses don't like this when we're inauthentic. They would rather you be authentic and be scared than out there acting like you are a tough girl. Number 7 is inspiring. You want your horse to feel good to be with you. Number 8 is decisive. You move with purpose and direction. So I know this sounds like super, super easy or whatever. And this actually is something you do super easy, or just something like a theory. If you will walk with purpose when you lead your horse, like we're going to this post, or we're going to, whatever, make sure you're walking straight to things and walking with purpose. They are so much better if you do this. And if you will get on your horse when you ride and don't just meander, don't just like, oh, you just go wherever you want to go. That lets them take over the leadership. And actually, I think they think it's scary. Like, just pick a place where you're going, pick a point, go to it, and then turn. Pick a point, go to it, and turn. And you will, I have this on video, how much it will make a huge, huge difference. And your horse will start to relax. Number 9 is intentional. Your lessons have a purpose. There's John Maxwell is a famous leadership trainer, and he says, "I'm not here to make you happy. I'm here to help you." And so sometimes in the hard parts of our training, this is like, especially when you're in the messy like beginning of stuff, where things feel awkward and your horse is maybe resisting and things aren't going like they do in the movies, right? You have to think about this. It's so important that our horses learn manners, and they learn boundaries and stuff like that, that keeps them safe for when other people have to handle them. So we really are here to make them happy, but we have to remember that we're also here to help them. So it's, sometimes we're not making them the most happy, like our kids when they have to go to kindergarten or they have to learn to sit in the chair or whatever. It doesn't make them very happy, but we are helping them. And in the long run, they're going to be more happy because they're going to feel safe and secure. Number 10 is to be intuitive and heart-centered. This means using like your mind and inner feelings based on what one feels to be true, even without conscious reasoning. Like it's instinctive, and you don't have to take a lot of time to like really work on that stuff. This is why doing these classes and like getting it deep down on the inside, it'll start to come out for you when you really, really need it. And be like a shepherd, be like a teacher, be like a guide, one who protects, guides, and watches over. Like you always have an eye on the environment, scanning the environment for your horse. You can prevent so many accidents if you will do this. If you will kind of just like train yourself. So Sally Swift, I have her book over there. Sally Swift would teach about soft eyes and hard eyes. Like if you'll have soft eyes and keep your peripheral vision open, you can sometimes see things before your horse sees it and just nicely step down and prevent an accident. I'm not saying you should, well, actually, I've done this in all kinds of situations. I've done this at a world championship show before. If I hear the tractor coming in and I had a horse that used to freak out when the tractor would come in, I would hear it coming. To prevent the spook, I would step down and I would put him in another place. I was watching over him and myself. I was being a shepherd, the one who protects and guides. So, and also think of yourself, if you can reframe your role as a teacher, it makes things so much less offensive or doesn't hurt your feelings the same way. Like, for example, this came up this week in some of our coaching calls. We were talking about putting a saddle on a horse and she pinned her ears back and it was kind of like upsetting and it felt hurtful. But when we reframed it, that, like really the horse doesn't dislike you. She doesn't maybe like the saddle. We have to think of a way, how do we inspire her going back? And then how do we be a teacher? And then number 12 is trust. Trust is releasing the expectations of a specific outcome. Trusting is leaving space for the magic that the horse can bring. And I'm not going to lie, sometimes this is really hard for me. It's hard for me to let go and not micromanage things, especially if you've gotten hurt in the past. This is a tough one, but there's a time where you have to ask the horse to trust you and you have to in turn trust them. And sometimes when you let go and create a place where your horse can do this, they love it. It's very empowering for them. 13 is self-control, having the self-mastery to tame your emotions as they rise. Be like a mother, like a strong mother, where we're like, no, you can't go do that. I love you, but you can't go do that. Be strong in yourself. Don't let the horse see your doubt. Be proud of him in every try. Number 14 is consistency. Your guidelines are always going to stay the same. Like it's going to be okay to do such and such a thing every single day, and it's not going to be okay to do such and such a thing. Number 15 is gratitude. Just have this great sense of gratefulness for everything they offer us, because everything they offer us is a gift. And when you start saying thank you, this is so crazy, but my border collie really honed this into me because she's so sensitive. I would have to be like, sit down, and I would say, please sit down, please, and thank you. And I started doing this more and more with the horses, and it works so great. Number 16 is find a place to fall madly in love with your horse. Like, don't put those words on him. Like we were talked about, like, he's so spooky, he's hard-headed, he's a little shit, he's this or whatever, he's an asshole, whatever. Sometimes we'll even cuss at them, right? But don't put those words on them. It's hard sometimes when they are being a spook or they are being this or that. But if we can treat them with a positive expectation, there's some quote or like, treat a man as he should be, and then they become it. That's not right. I kind of messed that up, but you guys get the idea. Treat them with a positive expectation, not like a disapproving parent. Again, though, not practicing your whole horsemanship. Make sure that you are doing your groundwork under all this stuff. So here is my little example story that I've told so many times. And this is my horse, Will, who has been sent here by the Lord Jesus to make me into a leader. I mean, oh my gosh, this horse. But we finally got at a place. But there's this video of me that I embarrassingly shared with everyone as an example of creating boundaries. And I didn't watch it very good before I put it up. And I put it up in our class. And then I was like watching, I was like, oh my gosh, this is like the perfect example of what not to do. I'm like glaring at him like the mother, like my mother used to look at me sometimes when your mom's like looking at you across the room, like, don't you do it. And you just know they're really mad at you, you know? Like I would look at him like that, like, oh, you. And I really didn't, honestly, for a period of time, I didn't like him. Like he was always pushing me. And it wasn't just like a little pushing, he was trying to bite me. He was coming at me. And this is funny, this video or this picture here. I have on my scratchy gloves or the hands-on gloves, because that is a time, the only time when he's really good is when you're well, not now, but at this time, that was the only time he was really good, is when you were really grooming him. And so he I had those gloves on to try to get him to be still for a picture. And this was still the best we could get. But I really didn't, I was doing that. I was calling like, and I do so sometimes call him Willa the Thriller, but I need to stop doing that. I'm proving my point here, but I was mad at him and I was not trusting him and I was glaring at him and I was doing all the things. And then finally I found like a thing in him that I just fell in love with him. And I just started finding places to praise him and be like, good job, and places to trust him. Like, okay, I'm going to let him put his nose on me and see if he bites me or not. And then he started getting so much better. And then he started offering, like, he'll lay down and he really does try. And we're trying to work on, we're just building it all little bits at a time. So find a place to fall in love with your horse if you haven't already. And for your new horse, I would just find all the happy places to keep praising him and saying, oh, yes, I love this about you, even when you aren't really sure. Okay, so now I'm going to give you some more. This is going to be more practical. And this is our video from Charlotte. How to develop the crucial skills of comfort zones, boundaries, expectations, and then balancing firmness with kindness. So hopefully this is giving you a bunch of tools for your toolbox. And then what we're going to do to give you, so you're like, why is she talking about all this stuff? We're going to pull from these things to give us practical things to work on and put on our list that gives us a plan. So I'm going to take me off the screen and we're going to watch this video with Charlotte. Take me off, and I have to optimize this for a video clip. Okay, here we go.
Hi, it's Charlotte, and we're on to the concept of deposits and withdrawals.
Oops, sorry.
Comfort zones, thresholds, approach and retreat. Sounds like a lot, but it's really not that much. When you are working with your horse, just like when you are working with a person or with your bank account, you want to be putting deposits in, positive deposits in your relationship every time you are working on the ground and you're riding. You don't want to show up and say, I'm going to do some big thing that my horse and I can't do because they said on TV or they said in the magazine or they said on a video that we need to do this today. You need to start in your horse's comfort zone, and every horse has got what we would call a comfort zone, and these are all the things. So that's the comfort zone. Everything that your horse can easily do and feels confident doing and knows the answer to is inside of this comfort zone. And when you do things that the horse easily knows the right answers, that puts deposits in the bank. So these are plus when you do stuff in this comfort zone. The problem with the comfort zone, and you can also call it the window of tolerance, like what can the horse tolerate? If you only stay within the comfort zone, that comfort zone will start to shrink and you will get smaller and smaller and smaller. Like, for example, if you decided you didn't want to ride today because it was windy, say, well, my horse doesn't like wind, so I'm just not going to ride on the windy days. Then that's going to shrink your comfort zone so you can't ride on any of the windy days. And then you say, well, but I don't really like riding on the really cold days because my horse is tight and cold, and then it kind of acts up. So I'm just going to eliminate all the cold days. And so then that comfort zone shrinks down even more. And then you say, well, I don't like riding when it's really hot because I'm really uncomfortable when it's really hot. So that shrinks it down even more. And so if you only do things in this comfort zone, you will get stuck doing less and less and less and less and less until you really aren't riding at all, because there's always an excuse not to ride. So what we do want to do is we want to figure out where the threshold is of this comfort zone. And that would be the edge of your comfort zone. And the way you do that is by approaching. We use the idea of approach. You start asking the horse for a little more. Okay, I'm going to ride it when it's a little windy. How did that go? Oh, that went okay. So now I'm going to ride it when it's a little more windy. Oh, how did that go? Oh, this is starting to be a little gray. Well, you can then find where that threshold is. Where does the horse start to get uncomfortable? And you want to start approaching those thresholds and figure out a way to do just a little bit of that that's uncomfortable and be successful. Then that stretches that bubble a little bigger, and then you retreat and you do some easier things. When you stretch the bubble, when you push through that threshold, that we would say is a withdrawal. So anytime you push into this area out here, it's withdrawing money from the bank. And when you're doing stuff in here, it's adding money to the bank. But to keep your comfort zone getting bigger, we want to approach that threshold, be successful, retreat back into the comfort zone. Approach this threshold, you get a little stretch, you retreat back into the comfort zone. In that way, your horse and you can really connect. The horse will be empowered. It will start to feel like, wow, my person really feels me. They recognize when I'm uncomfortable. They help me solve that puzzle, and then they get me back to where I feel really good. That's a huge deal. What ends up happening a lot, though, is people will get a few wins, and they'll get out here, or they'll get out here, and they'll just keep moving out. Well, if I can trot on the trail today, my horse was good. What if I tried cantering on the trail? And if I cantered on the trail and my horse was only a little bit tense, maybe I'll gallop on the trail. Well, if you just keep going out here, your horse is going to be like, ooh, you're taking me way out of my comfort zone. You have done withdraw, 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 withdraw. I'm peacing out, and your horse may just lose its marbles and explode. So the idea of approach and retreat is we approach a threshold, we stretch a little bit, we retreat back to the comfort zone. Then we reapproach the threshold, you get some success, then you retreat back into the comfort zone. But we want to maintain your horse's relaxation. You want to maintain the horse's connection to you. It's just like our tapping. Anytime you approach a threshold and you start pushing through a threshold, that creates stress in that horse. That stress, you're sort of testing how is your horse's response to stress. Because as we have learned before, the horse only has 2 responses to stress. One of them is fear, fight, flight, freeze, survival, sympathetic nervous system. The other one is rest, digest, play, learn, heal. That is relaxation, connection, parasympathetic nervous system. So we want to test the horse in all these areas. We're going to give you a little stress. Can you solve it with relaxation and connection? Woohoo! Now we're going to take you back into your comfort zone so that you really feel good about it. So this approach and retreat is a great concept, and what we don't want you to do is, I tapped on my horse my horse was wild when I brought it out into the ring to do playground of safety. So I stood there and I had to stand there for 30 minutes or an hour, and finally the horse calmed down, and it seemed like it went through a couple cycles of relax and stop, and then relax and move, and then relax and stop, and relax and move. So now I feel like I'm ready to tap. And then you tapped on the horse, and the horse was a little jacked up, but through the tapping, the horse relaxed and it connected to you. And you're like, woohoo, well, now I'm going to ride it. So you take it over to the mounting block and the horse airs up, and you're like, tap, 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 I'm going to relax my horse at the mounting block. And the horse relaxes because it's learned how to do that through the tapping. And then you just jump on there and you start going off. And then you start riding around, your horse is tense, and you're like, well, I'm going to do these circles, I'm going to do these things that they've taught me to do, and you're just barely getting by, but you're blowing through threshold after threshold after threshold, and the next thing you know, you're out here.
Sorry, guys, I did not know that box was up.
And then some little thing happens, or a big thing, a bag blows through the ring, and it's just, your horse just can't take it anymore, and it explodes, and you come off, and you get hurt, and you say, well, this stuff is stupid, this stuff doesn't work. I did all my things. Well, if your horse was having trouble relaxing to get through that first threshold, then maybe don't plan to go all the way out here, because you're going to be bankrupt by the time you get here, and your horse is going to unload you. So if your horse shows up one day and it's especially tense, just either play in your comfort zone or just work on one threshold and then retreat in there, because you want to leave the horse more relaxed and more connected at the end of your session than he was at the beginning. And that 1% is enough to be more relaxed or more connected. But what you don't want to do is blow your entire relationship by taking the horse out here. For example, I might go on a hike with you. I like a hike. Then we might get hiking for a long time, going up some steep hills. And I would say, okay, I'll do this because I like you and I want to do this. Then we get to the top of the mountain. Isn't this beautiful? Look over the edge. I'm like, I don't really like heights, but okay, if you want to get a picture here on the edge, I'll do that. Then you say, you know what? I think I want to go bungee jumping. Right down the trail here is a bungee jump. Well, by the time we get to that bungee jump, you have like pushed me way out of my comfort zone. I'm like, forget you. I'm never going anywhere with you again because you don't respect me. You don't think of my feelings. And just like you don't want somebody to say, hey, I just want to hang out today and have a relaxing day, and then have somebody take you on a hike and then go up a really steep mountain, then stand over the cliff, and then try to take you bungee jumping. We're not wanting to push the horses to bungee jumping, because usually you push the horse to where it feels like it's got to go bungee jumping. You're maybe the one going bungee jumping by yourself. So the end result here is notice where your horse is, notice where their thresholds are. And if you stretch one threshold and that was really hard, then maybe think about going back in the comfort zone for that day. But if you've got a day, it's warm and it's sunny and everything is great, and your horse easily went through this threshold, and then it gets to the next threshold and it easily goes through that threshold, I'd probably retreat, go back in the comfort zone, make sure your horse is still relaxed, then maybe reapproach and see about another threshold. But you want to build that horse slowly with lots of deposits, and make sure you've got a little savings account in there, because you never know when the blag is going to go through, or somebody's going to get bucked off and their horse is going to go careening around the ring, or a dog is going to come unglued, or whatever. So, comfort zones, thresholds, approach and retreat, the concepts of deposits and withdrawals. I hope that helps you. On to the next thing.
I am sorry, you guys. I did not know that there was that square. I pulled it up on my phone because I couldn't figure out what you meant, Bethany, because it's full screen. And I'm so sorry. I did not know that square was there. I hope it has not been there this whole time. One of the joys of Zoom. This happens sometimes. Okay, so onward. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. I love that video. I've watched it so many times, and every time I learn so much. So I'll go through these next section, and then you guys let me know though if you have any questions. I have my chat shut down because that is what that big giant square is. So I'm going to keep the chat off for now, and hopefully that will make the square go away. So now I'm going to talk to you guys about something that I'm so excited. That's really taken me a lot of years to develop, and you horse girls that have been with me for a while will be familiar with different versions of the same thing, but it's our equestrian circle of confidence. And what this little model does is it gives you clarity of the essential skills to work on to handle, ride, and train your horse with trust in yourself, to create trust in your horse so you can tell your voices of doubt to just zip it, to be still and shut their pie holes. Because the voices of doubt, like sometimes you almost have to just cuss at them to make them be quiet. So I want to share with you these different layers that will just give you some ideas. So this is how we will be formulating our plan coming up here soon. So first of all, we talked about our leadership. We talked about becoming a connected leadership and what all those little parts and pieces. But the amazing thing about leadership is we think that it breaks relationship when we become like, have boundaries and make guidelines for our horses. We think they don't like that, but it is amazing to see that our horses cannot relax and connect to us until we have that done. So Charlotte put it best, talking about, a 50-50 partnership is great, but there's certain times that our horses don't have the same intelligence that we do to make the hard decisions, like running into the road, or there's something, sometimes when you say whoa, they better whoa or they're going to get hurt. It's not a question of just like, does it look good or not? It's very, very important. So this leadership piece, I did a video actually for a class that we taught a couple weeks ago about riding with confidence within 3 days. And it sounds like pretty far-fetched, but if you'll work through these exercises, you will be at a different level in just a couple of days. So I was giving this example of creating a boundary with my rope with Will, and he instantly, almost on cue, just went and laid down. Like he could not relax until he felt that I was leader enough. And if you think about why and think about the way they think, it makes total sense, right? Because they are animals of prey. They always have an eye or an ear out what is going on around them. If they don't think you're paying attention and you cannot create a boundary for yourself, they don't trust you to keep them safe. So as soon as you can do this, so that would be our leadership piece here. And there's different leading exercises and things you can do. So we're talking a little bit theory here, but that's how we are creating our to-do list. So once we become a leader, our horse can relax. And once they start to relax, they can start to connect. And through this relaxation and connection, we're creating experiences together where we can build trust. And then our horse is in the mindset to learn. So the scientific parts of it are things we've learned from the Cannon method, from going from sympathetic nervous system over to parasympathetic nervous system. So if our horse is not relaxed and connected and trusting of us, they can't learn. So we do all this stuff by force, and our horse is like frozen. That's why we have the unexpected blow-ups And anyway, I just am so excited to be able to share with you more and more, like, what are the techniques within these things? So we might just be able to say today, I need to teach my horse to relax, or I need to teach my horse to trust me. And then that becomes our list. And then that becomes very practical, where we could be, okay, well, how am I going to teach him to trust me? Okay, I'm going to set up a bunch of wacky wild stuff that I get at the dollar store, and I'm going to create obstacles out of my arena, and I'm going to teach him that I am the leader enough that I can guide him through these things and he can trust me. And then when you get past that, then you're going to go to the next level of training. So that's the outer layer of our circle. The inner layer is the things that we need to work on for ourselves to become better equestrians, to become better at our horsemanship. And they used to call it in 4-H horse mastership. So that would be our mindsets, our balance, not like just woohoo balance, like balance in our bodies. It's really hard to have confidence if you have to jump off, if you don't feel that you can even jump down off 2 stairs to the ground. It's hard to feel confident when we're out of balance. And if you remember from our connected leadership list, that is so important, that for us to be balanced, for the horse to feel that. Now, this isn't about weight. This isn't about being a bodybuilder by any type, if you look at me, but it's just having, and not perfect. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to have some balance. But if you don't feel balanced, very practically, we can make exercises to practice without, like I said, going to the gym and working out and all the stuff that make us feel more balanced. Our rhythm and timing, like if we feel uncomfortable handling our ropes or picking up our reins and all of that, there's ways we can practice that. And that makes us feel more confident. And as we become more confident and have more trust in ourselves, our fears start to dissolve. The strength in our body. And again, you don't have to be super strong, lucky for me. Flexibility, just enough flexibility that you can step up and step off your horse. And again, you don't have to do any big things. You can do so many things just on a set of stairs. And then there's our habits, being consistently working with our horses. Like the consistency I found is like the golden key. I used to shoot a ton of horse videos, and I did a lot of how-to training type stuff. And then I also did a lot of stallion promotion videos. And I would notice people come and go, and the people that stayed in the industry and are still in the industry are the people that were consistent, that were consistently not in like just showing up at the horse shows, but showing up at the time they got to the barn, and showing up and consistently riding and showing up and doing their horse disciplines, as we call them, our daily disciplines. So we have disciplines in our lives and in our horsemanship. So hopefully this makes some sense here, and you can see how, looking at this big bird's eye view, how it can give you things, practical things that we can work on to work through our fear. So maybe I'll just pause here for a second and check the chat and see. Oh, yay. I'm glad you like that. I feel like it is just like I've worked on this for so long, and it finally came to me. I'm redoing a bunch of our programs, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is the path that we can follow, that anyone can do and stay safe. Even if you feel super scared right now, anyone could do this stuff and follow it along and not feel like you have to get bigger or do things with your horses you feel uncomfortable with, and you can just work through it really easily. So yay, I'm glad that you like that. Does anyone have any questions in there, or do you want to wait for when we start to fill in our blanks here coming up? I'm going to share with you just a little bit little bit more on the ideas part, and then we'll work through our worksheets. So remember though, if you're looking at this, it just as a reminder, all it is kind of a trigger to remind yourself, oh yeah, I'm having trouble today. Is it my leadership? Is my horse not relaxed? Why is he not relaxed? Like, what can I do? What exercises am I doing to make him relax? He doesn't seem like maybe he trusts me with that. Okay, what am I going to do? What's my trust building exercise? And then the training parts are the really physical, practical things of horsemanship, like getting your horse to be soft in his face and soft off your legs, and acceptance, and learning to drive, and learning certain different skills. That is what I'm referring to as the training piece. So we have to remember, and we have to understand these things to have the picture in our mind, so we can believe ourselves and have a level of confidence, so our horse will believe us too. So how do we make this all actionable? We make this actionable by just practicing and perfecting, whatever that means. There's not even, I don't think there's such a thing as perfect in our horsemanship, but we're practicing, we're striving, and we're chasing after this all elusive goal, right? Okay, I'm going to shut the chat down again, get our little box off of here. So one more thing here I want to cover. I think this is my last one before we dive into our practical parts of our little worksheet. Better check my time. Okay, I'm doing good. So I want to teach you or give you a review of the CAPE technique to understand your horse's body language and become a horse listener, so you can keep yourself and your horse safe. So this used to be CAP, but I changed it into CAPE because I remembered the E thing that needed to be covered. So the C in this equation stands for connection. So I'm defining connection as the exchange of positive energy between horse and human. It's the feeling of understanding and being understood and united through connection. And it's one of the most rewarding elements in life. Like, I feel this so many times when I get to talk to some of you girls one-on-one. It's like we have this connection. We have this positive energy flowing back and forth. It's like we've known each other our whole life. We're on the same wavelength, right? But it has the power to deepen the moment and the bond between people and animals, inspire change, and build trust. And it sounds like a kind of a pie in the sky. That's nice. Like, the word is being used more and more and more. Connection, connection, connection. But we also have to make it practical. We have to make it intentional. Like, our intention is to connect at the highest level. And in order to kind of give us a tool to fight against this fear piece that we are focusing on tonight, is when we give ourselves a higher intention that becomes bigger than ourselves. It helps so much to dissolve our fears. Like, when we make it about the horse, like when I make it about just to be vulnerable, if I feel nervous to come out here and share my ideas, like, what will people say? What if they think it's stupid? What if my slides are ugly? What if I'm ugly? Like, all of those things, then I make it all about me, then I can't help anybody. But if I think about, oh my gosh, that person who's seriously about to give up their horse because they can't do something, and I have learned these ideas, then I can be brave enough to help, to go out and show up. Same thing with our horses. If we make it about them, like, I have to help her to understand, then we can find a different level of, I don't want to, use the word brave, but a different way to dissolve our fears and to make it worth our while to practice and perfect our fundamentals. So I digress there. The A stands for awareness, and awareness is just knowledge or perception of a situation or a fact. And that can be very practical, of just being aware of what's going on. I guess I keep thinking about that because we are literally in the middle of a cornfield. Which right now is a wheat stubble field. But I have to be aware if a deer comes across there, or sometimes there'll be a coyote or something. I'm always kind of glancing of what's going on. That's awareness. So you can also go deeper with it, like awareness of, like when you think your horse feels, or like they feel a certain way, or they don't like a certain thing, or whatever. You have to kind of trust that little girly intuition inside of you. Presence is the P in our Kate, and that is our state of being attuned to and able to express our true thoughts, feelings, values, and potential. So at its core, this is from Amy Cuddy's book Presence. She defines it as being your best true self. That is presence. So look at my beautiful mare Raven when she is present, and then look at her. There is a big difference in the way she looks when she's present, meaning she's here in physical body, and when she's present, she's relaxed and attuned to what's going on around her. It's like, well, I say this all the time, of it's like if you and I go to coffee and I am there physically in body, but I am not there in presence, and like looking you in the eye, like, how are you? Like, how are you really? Like, how did that go? And we're connecting and we're back and forth. That's present. That's a way big different thing than sitting in the chair. So if we can be present, and I know it's like the same word, if we can have presence as we're being present with our horse, they just eat that up, that attention that you're giving it. And I think we all eat that up. We long for that, of people that really want to know what we're saying and really want to know how we're feeling. So it's so cool when we can give that to our horses. Like, how do you feel really? Actually, that's a book. It just came out. Jenna Kutcher just wrote a book called How Are You Really? We'll have to get that and read it. But I'll just read this really quickly. She says, presence emerges when we feel personally powerful, which allows us to be acutely attuned to our most sincere selves. So not only are you sincere to their feelings, you're sincere to your own self. So in this psychological state, we're able to maintain presence even in the very stressful situations that typically make us feel distracted and powerless. Is that not, we need to add that to our definition of fear. Distracted and powerless is when we are fearful, we're inside, we're not outside, we're not present. So you can be shaking in your shoes and be vulnerable and true to your horse, but you're present and you're there and you're like, you might have to help me through this part. Or, even if you're just sitting there together, and let them know that is presence between the both of you. So presence comes, I just love this little part. So presence stems from believing and trusting your story, your feelings, beliefs, values, and abilities. Presence isn't about pretending you are competent. It's not about being just hope horsemanship. It's about not just pretending this thing. It's about believing in and revealing the abilities you truly have. And that's not easy at first. I deal with this all the time in all different levels of my life. I'm just being very honest. Like it's like I don't always know for sure that I can do certain things, but I have to try to just believe in myself. And then she says the next part, it's about shedding whatever's blocking you from expressing who you are. It's about tricking yourself into accepting that you are indeed capable. Sometimes you have to get out of the way of yourself so you can be yourself. And I've recommended this, guys, so much, but just Google Amy Cuddy TED Talk. It's Cuddy. So good. Watch it to the end because there's kind of like a twist on it. And then the E in our cape is energy. Develop energy awareness. Now, I'm not talking about woo-woo energy, although that could be part of it. I'm talking about energy that is coming from our horse and having the ability to fluctuate your energy to match, or to be an influence of the horse to match yours. Be yourself, but be intentional with this. Like if you're a very calm person and your horse is very, very calm, and then you really need them to go a little faster and you have to raise your energy up, that's being intentional with it. But it doesn't only mean fast or slow. It can also be the energy or happy vibe you bring to influence to create a positive, fun environment. So we talk about leaving our baggage at the gate. And when we walk into the barn, we're our best selves. We bring the happy vibe and it changes. It helps your horse not to spook. It makes everything more fun if you can do this. Some hard days are, you can't be perfect at it, but it's okay. But I also want you to be so aware of their energy. Like if they have energy and they need to run, don't get on the horse. Like let them get it out before you get on. I think this is one of the number one things that gets people hurt. They don't go through their groundwork. They don't go through their prep, their pre-ride equestrian program, their little routine before they get on, and accidents happen. So there's like matching vibes, which can be a little bit sounding a little out there. But then there's also this practical thing of horsemanship that where there's extremes in everything where people are out lunging their horses for hours to get the energy out. But just getting that edge out can make such a huge difference. But then going back to the original thought of trying to be on the same wavelength, like we talked about a minute ago, when you first meet someone and everything just flows and you're on the same wavelength, sometimes when you get a new horse, you have to try to match them and eventually they'll be matching you. I have 6 different horses and we all will meet on different wavelengths. I don't think we all just have just one wavelength. So how do we make this actionable? So I have a little video, but I didn't put it on here because I wanted to make sure I didn't run out of time here. But like of lunging on the lunge line, where if you really have not enough energy, your horse is going to tell you where you need to be. I think I have a slide about this here in a second. So one way also is to check in with your body, make sure your horse isn't, I have different little tests that I'll run them through, like the Simon Says exercise and everything. So remember though, to put on your cape, connection, awareness, presence, energy in all areas of your horsemanship. So all the time be scanning, all the time be reading their body language, and their energy level and how present they are to you. So I want to make sure we don't, okay, this is something I did want to cover. This was a question that a lady asked. She said, I have come to find that I feed my horse's dragon. Even when I feel like I'm relaxed and doing fine, she will look at me like WTF. Come to find out my body language has a memory. How do we connect our heads to our old body and stop the body from reacting now that the brain has quit? So the answer to this is going to sound a little bit counterintuitive, but adjust your body and make new body memories, that sounds like, oh, thanks, that's super helpful. But the way you can do this and your horse is, the best thing that people would pay millions of dollars to just be able to learn this from. But let your horse guide you in how to adjust, right? And how your horse is perceiving you. So for example, if we are on the lunge line and you're lunging for connection, not just like, we don't, in our program, we don't teach like just chasing our horse, which if your horse has a lot of energy and he wants to run like that, that's fine on his own accord. But anyway, I digress. But so let's say your horse is on the line and he's going super, super slow, and you have to pick yourself up a little bit. Let's say your horse is on the line and he's going super, super fast. You may have to bring yourself back a little bit. And then where this comes out even bigger is in our horsemanship, is in our leadership horsemanship, is if your horse is really being disrespectful and you think that you are being a strong leader, he's telling you you're not. So adjust yourself. In your opinion, you're getting really big. In his opinion, you're not getting big enough. And then the other way around, if you are just trying to create a boundary, and your horse is like, holy cow, I got to get out of here. This is really scary. And they spook. That just said, you were way too big, right? So hopefully that makes sense. So they're adjusting, they're telling you what you need to do. So that helps you to create new memories in your body. So remember, they're just mirroring and they're just responding with information, not good or bad. So it doesn't mean that you're doing good or bad, right? So I gotta hurry so I can make sure we get our class done on time. Okay, so remember there were 4. Actually, I had added the fear of control, of losing control. So this just says 3, but we've really covered the valid fear. And those was a lot of things that we can do to help us with things that we're really scared of, like things that we're worried about. We can work on our horsemanship. We can become better riders. We can become better leaders. We can work on our horses' groundwork. We can work on helping them to trust us and work through our whole circle of confidence there. But there's still a couple of fears left. There's that anxious fear and the fear of judgment. So I wrote a little ebook called Unbridle Your Potential. And I'll just share with you guys a couple of thoughts, and then we'll jump in and we will go back to our Fear Buster worksheet and make this all actionable. So I'll find my thing. I think I had pulled it up, or did I not? Maybe I didn't pull it up. Here we go. I will pull it up really quickly here. Our little confidence book. So I know a lot of you guys have read this before. So I'll we don't have to cover the whole thing, but I'm going to want this to be accessible to you, because so many times we let our doubts and our uncertainty, like even if you may not have a big fear that you're working through, you may have uncertainty in your horsemanship of where you feel unsure of, like, even how to make a decision. And I'll be really vulnerable to say, as we've been exploring different methods of for lack of a better word, like just softer horsemanship, where we're connecting to our horses and we're putting our horse first. And I've been exploring this for a really long time. And I came from a show horse background. My grandfather trained horses in the cavalry. So I don't want to say I was ever mean. I definitely wasn't mean, but there were times that I wasn't always listening to my horse the way I try to so much now. And so the more I would learn, like when I came back from Fred's, and actually even when I started working more and more with Charlotte, I would come home and I wouldn't know for sure what to do with my horse. Like I had this uncertainty inside me and not trusting myself, right? So I think these kinds of things come up so much, and you can watch people at horse shows, and you don't have to show horses to have this come up. It could be even, on trail rides, or if you ride at a boarding barn, there's always different kinds of things like this coming up. So I won't go through this whole thing with you, but this ebook has 3 mental strategies that you can go through that really, really work to transform your confidence. So one of the exercises in here is the power pose. Let's see. I'll try to go straight to that. The power pose. Hopefully this isn't making you seasick. Okay, here it is. So basically, that we've known for a long time that our mind can affect our bodies, right? So negative thinking can make you, it can make you even sick, right? The way you think affects things. But what they did in this, actually it's in the President's book, Amy Cuddy had this theory that if the mind can affect the body, can the body also affect the mind? So we know this in our horses when we put them in different postures. So that's part of the relaxation training that we dive into deeper. But so what they found was if someone was in a confident position with their body, like a power pose, which I need to get a new, need to get a new Wonder Woman cowgirl to explain this a little better. But they did this test, and they even tested cortisol levels and testosterone levels, and it really, really does work. So if you'll do some of these little things that at first you're going to be like, Jen, that is crazy. That is not going to give me more confidence in the ring. But I'm going to show you 2 world championships that yes, it does. Because these are the things I practiced exactly before I went in and showed. And it took me a while to get my confidence up, but where, just like little secrets of just like smiling at people on the rail, smiling as you go in, that totally transform the way you feel, how much more fun you're going to have, and how much more confidence you're going to have. So I'll give you a link to you got this book in the replay. So if your fear has to do with like a vulnerability type fear, you can put, when we get to our next section of how you're going to work on that, is you're going to go through the mindset mastery tools that I've got in here. These are things that will help you to raise your confidence every time you go to the barn. And if you work outside of the house, it helps every time you go to the office too. It's just a really, really, the exercises make all the difference in the world. So I had made a decision that I wasn't going to go through all that, because I know a lot of you guys have been through those exercises before, and you can read them in the ebook. So I'll make sure to send them out as soon as I get the replay done. So we are ready now to go back to our equestrian fear buster worksheet. And I'll go through these questions here. And then if you guys would, in the chat, let me know. I'll bring up my chat now. I'll bring it over to the side here. So let me know, like, where can I help you brainstorm in any of these areas? Okay. So I'm here to help you. And I want you to when we can write things down, first of all, we're going to name it, and then we make it actionable. Then you can start to do something about it. And you'll start to feel so empowered just that you have something that you're going to do and put in your planner. So let's go through these questions here. So by doing bleep, fill in the blank of whatever it was that was your fear from the first page of our worksheet, the absolute worst thing that could happen to me, the worst thing that could happen to me is what? And that would feel what there? So just fill that out, or just think that out in your mind if you don't have the worksheets. And then the next question is, if I don't take that ride, if I don't overcome my fear, if I don't teach my horse to do liberty, or whatever this is, it's like your aspiration. I'm missing out on doing or learning, experiencing, whatever that, what is it? Like, what will you be missing out if you don't overcome this fear? And then the next question is, if I do take that ride and it goes well, I've done all my groundwork, I've done all the things I can to improve my horsemanship, to improve my feel, rhythm, and timing, and my balance, and my horse is accepting and willing and trusts me, what would that look like? Like, if I do my groundwork, not if I do this and I just hope it goes well, what would it look like? And I would feel so good. I would feel so excited. And then the next part, oops, why is it not going to the next part? Let's see, did I repeat one? Bleep. If I do, take that ride and it goes well. Okay. Oh, okay, it is the next thing. The steps that I can take to prepare are, so it might be, we can pull the circle of confidence back up. And if you have the worksheet, I put it in there for you. The steps I can prepare are, like if you feel weak, you can start walking. You can do different things like that. You can walk with your horse. Different thing. At first, when you get back started, things feel sloppy and they feel uncoordinated. And you have to practice and just know that you're going to go through that and you're going to laugh it off and you're going to get better. So steps I can take to prepare are, if you're afraid your horse is going to spook, what can you do? So your step could be, I need to teach my horse to relax. And then you're going to research, like in our program, we teach that, but I don't want to, say you have to be in our program. But this wasn't going to be, this is no kind of a sales pitch, but how can I teach my horse to relax? How can I teach my horse to connect? And sometimes they're just kind of funky things that you're thinking of outside the box. Like my friend Galen, and this was totally every horse trainer, and I probably would have told her not to do this, but it totally worked. So she was thinking outside the box and she wanted to teach her horse. They had like a little path or something he was going down, and he would always want to go back to the barn or whatever. And so she thought outside the box and she made like little treats along the path to inspire him to want to go down there. And it worked. And he was connected to her. He was like an older horse. What are you going to do? Like spank him? You can't do that stuff. You got to think of how can you inspire them? How can you, those things you take to prepare, maybe it's something that is outside of any kind of horsemanship that's going on right now, right? So think of that, of what are some things you could do that you might need. So it's easier if you can list what you're not sure of. Like, I'm not sure, like your new horse, I'm not sure how he acts under saddle. Like, what are some steps that I could do? I could get someone to stay there with me. I could get someone to lead me a couple laps. I could get, I could do my groundwork and make sure everything. If it's a horse you don't know, you can start from square one and just move them up through the levels of training really, really fast. And then you'll make sure you have all your bases covered. Who can I ask for help, advice, or moral support? You can ask someone in the group. You can ask me. We can ask each other. Sometimes just making a call to take a lesson is starting out to get you, to empower you to take some action steps. I do one-on-one calls where we could sit there and work it all out together. We could do that. But that's just like, think of who can you ask for help? Steps I could take to prepare. Okay, and then what are some steps I can do to feel safe? So if you guys want to be vulnerable and share, if anybody wants to share anything they're maybe going through, like what are some action steps you could take? I don't know if people are having big fear or just like what level anyone is at right now. I'm looking through here. See if I can tell. I'm not seeing, you guys are not sharing your vulnerabilities. I'm being the vulnerable. Okay, so what is a short-term action plan? So one of the things that I am working on right now is, we have a summer challenge going on, which is super duper awesome. I think a lot of you guys are in there, but so I've been doing a little bit across the board with 4 of my horses. So I haven't been super consistently on just one, but let's just use Raven, for example, who the last couple months has been really kind of spooky. So if you guys don't know me, she's 11 this year. She's the beautiful black mare that I just shared pictures of a little bit ago. And she's very trained, but she's also very much a mare. Like she's very, very sensitive. I have to be really aware of what's going on with her, like where she is in her heat cycle, just being present and aware of that, right? So my short-term action plan is I'm following through and making sure to connect with her, establish myself as a leader, because she's funny because she's super, super sensitive, and I can't be too strong with her. But if I'm like really like soft, like pushover girl, she is so nervous. She really needs me to be a leader. She really needs me to step up and be that for her. So those are the things I'll work with this upcoming week. And then my long-term action plan will be just to create more strength and work, work with her more and more and try to do more and more things. So I don't know if that's specifically answering any type of fear questions. So let's say a vulnerability type fear. If I was going to go show coming up, which we do have some bigger shows coming up, and we'll have our world championship in September. So for me, I have to really make sure that I keep my eyes on my own paper, so to speak, like ride the horse that I'm on, not compare with other horses, and just like really continuously fall in love with my horse and be so proud of him. And then I will go through those exercises that I will do my power poses. I do a ton of visualization. And this is something I should have said that I'm glad that we have another minute for me to say this is huge, you guys. When you know what you want and you like, let's say you're 100 miles from where you want to be right now, but you know what you want, like you have a picture of that, like practice that in your mind. Let's say you want to go on a trail ride and you just want to feel safe. Like I have some girls that I do coaching with, they just want to feel safe riding around the farm. So I want you to see it in your mind. I want you to go out and see it in every little detail, right? That's nothing new. Visualization, that way we've all heard this all before. But I want you to see everything going perfectly right. And then I want you to go out, and then I want you to see it in your mind, you going out and things going a little bit wrong. And then how are you going to fix yourself? And I want you to see you confidently fixing things. So that is like a super powerful way to fix things. Like I do not believe in like sitting here and saying what can go wrong. We have enough of that going on. Oh, yay. Who is Elizabeth? Yay. Okay, my gelding has a slow jog most of the time, but from time to time, especially going downhill, he rushes, making his gait uneven and unpredictable. It makes me anxious, and I end up jerking the rein, and he becomes anxious. I need to figure out how to get a more even gait and reduce the anxiety for he and I. Well, that is a really great question. And so there's a couple of things here. Like there are exercises that you can practice in your ring before you're going out riding, and you could do it in the pasture too, of like going over poles and different things that you can do to help your horse have more rhythm and balance. But a huge thing that you want to do is also, now this isn't going to help, especially like, do you have to jog down the hills? I mean, I think jogging down hills and them not speeding up is pretty hard. Like one thing you can do is you can really sit back and count your rhythm. That's one way to do it. But also like going downhill, I would I would question of why you need to jog downhill. But another thing you could do is kind of take things at an angle. Don't just go straight down the hill, but go a little bit sideways and a little bit sideways. This is depending on what kind of a trail you're on, right? Um, oh, a very slight incline. So I think if we practice like using poles in the ring, you could set up different, I've got some different things I could share. I'll make sure that I do that on our like little patterns of squares with your poles. That will help. And then the other thing that helps, if you are in a flat surface when you're practicing and them catching your rhythm, you want to not like straight lines create speed, right? So the more that you can ride in serpentines or S's, just to make it more clear, just if you can just ride in an S and come across and then go back straight. And if they pick up their rhythm a little bit more, I don't know if it's like a pleasure horse, like a Western pleasure type trained horse, but that's how they teach them to dog slow, is every time they speed up just a little bit, you don't do anything, big deal. You just go into a pattern of an S. Okay, so this is perfect. So if he is Western pleasure trained, so you're going to ride in your serpentines if you can. And then, but I don't think it's unusual that he was speed up just a little bit going down a hill, but you could also kind of check him and balance him, help him to balance a little bit in your hands and lean back to keep your rhythm. But when you're practicing in the ring or on a flat surface, anytime he speeds up a little bit, you're going to stop, back, and do like a 90-degree turn and go the other way. Or you're just going to keep going in the serpentines. So you're going to S. I have videos on this too that I just shot some new stuff too. And I can make sure to send that. I can make sure to put a link for that in the replay. Slow down your trot. I have to write it down or I will forget. So I think that will help you more if I show you a video of when they speed up, just fix it. But I think part of that, just also be aware too of, are you leaning? If you're going downhill, are you leaning forward? Make sure you're leaning back, and make sure your hands are still and you're setting him, and that your legs are not speeding him up too. But I wouldn't say that my horse will be totally locked in on an incline. I would have to steady him and keep counting my rhythm. Okay, that makes sense. Well, yeah, if he throws you out of balance, and then that will make sense too. So some other things you could do is when you are in your ring or do you have a ring? Or you are just riding in the pasture? Okay, so when you are in the ring, you can also stand in your stirrups. So this is going to be some stuff that I cannot wait, that I hope I might have it ready by tomorrow. But we are in our program, it's all going to be in so much more order. And so another thing, so go in your ring and stand in your stirrups. And I do have a new video on this. So I don't mean like 2-point stand in your stirrups. This is a balance thing that's really going to help you. And it sounds so goofy and it sounds like it won't really help that much, but it really, really does. So I don't want you to 2-point. I want you to stand up in your stirrups, like try to be straight as you can, which is hard to be perfect with this, but put your pelvic bone towards your saddle horn, or if you ride English, whatever that would be called. I should know this, but I can't think of it. Okay, so you're going to stand up in your stirrups. And if at first it can be really, really hard, and don't judge yourself. You may just go like 10 feet and sit back down. Just do it at a walk. And then these are like really practical things that you can do to improve your horsemanship in really big ways. And it's like it's an excellent example of like, he throws me out of balance and I panic. So that can be the way, of what helps you to make your to-do list. Steps I take to prepare. I'm going to work on my balance. I'm going to work on his speed control. Because even so, a lot of the pleasure horses, people have a perspective that they're just pitched out there, right? We have this slack in the rein and they're just pitched out and ready to go. Well, you still have to steady them and you still have to balance them just like any other kind of horse. So those are the kinds of things that really help. And another thing is to not just go into your transitions. Like if you're going to walk to trot, or wait, walk, and then you're going to trot. So you want to do like something in between, like you're going to walk, stop, side pass, and then jog off. And you're going to help them keep their rhythm with that. And the transition piece is so huge and it really, really helps. So, oh, it's you, Elizabeth James. Hi, sorry I didn't say it was you. I knew you had a ring. I'm excited to help you with that, Liz, actually. I have a ton of ideas for that. So, well, it's 8:30. I am exactly on time. I'm so excited. Did this help you guys? Like, can you give me some feedback? Do you did this give you good ideas? Like, what's your feelings about what we covered tonight? Did I cover too much? If you have any feedback, I would really love it. I would love to hear what you think. And if it helps you, do you need more specific training type exercises to make this be more clear? Do we need more mental specific exercises in here to be more clear? So I would really, really appreciate the feedback because I really, really want to help people. This is like a huge thing for people. Yay, thank you, Terry. Thank you, Krista. Yeah, your horse's explosions. Krista, you're a member of the Riding Academy, aren't you? Or of the Cannon method? Yes. Have you gone through like I just re-edited the D-Spooktacular, so I will have that up here in the next few days. And so that is going to be really, really clear on how to help you with those explosions. When they are frozen like that, that is when they explode. Like you think they're okay, you think they're okay, and then they're like not okay at all, or they're really, really spooky and they just get spooky-er. So the Cannon method is the only thing in all my years of because like I used to do, I was a videographer that my job was I made horse training videos, like how to train horses. So I got to work with some extraordinary people and amazing horsemen and women. And this has been the only thing that I've really found that really, really works. So try to dive back in there, Krista, and I'll try to, if you have trouble finding anything, please just message me and I'll help you, okay? Bethany, I'm excited to come up with an action plan. I have a lot of fear of not being good enough, and I know my horse feels it. Oh my gosh, that is so big. Like I've shared with you, I was really dealing with that even not very long ago because I was changing the way I was doing things. And then I would question myself, like, what should I do next? And I got all confused. So I'm excited to share with you guys our new program that will help you to really see all of that really clearly. And it'll be in the Riding Academy. So if anyone, I'm opening up a beta group for this tomorrow. If you want to be in the beta group and do it with me, that would be amazing. Just send me a private message and I'll give you the details, or just email me, actually, Jenny@horsegirl.me. Jan said, this is so great and perfect timing help for me. How would I schedule a one-on-one call with you? I've been riding this same mare for 11 years and she's recovering from an injury. I'm so excited you have a new horse. Yay. You can just message me, Jan, just message me, Jenny at horsegirl.me, and I would love to help you. And I would love to fill you in on our new program that we're putting together, because it's going to be super duper affordable, because I'm looking for a beta group of like 25 girls that we will meet every week. I'll give you guys assignments, and then you guys go try it, and I'll help you through it. So it's super excited, but I'm not trying to sell anyone anything. Love the reminder. Oh my gosh, me too. That I love the reminder of approach and retreat and expand the comfort zone. Charlotte is a master at teaching that. Yay. This has been great. Any exercise for establishing leadership with a horse that wants to take over, but is also lazy? That's a really fun one, isn't it? Are you in the Cannon method, Suzanne? So I don't start quoting that the leadership exercises. So what you can do is there's a leadership. We will start August 1st. Bethany, I am just not happy with how Zoom doesn't let me see anything. Okay, sorry. Okay, so what you could do is do an exercise that Charlotte has called turn, turn, turn. There's different variations of this. Lindsay Partridge has a variation of it, and I think she calls it the square exercise. But what you do is whenever he tries to go in front of you, you're just going to turn, right? So then you're back in the leadership position. If he's being lazy and like he's way far behind you and you turn, you're going to you're going to, by default, he's going to have to move, because he's going to have to come after you. He's going to have to break loose there and come after you. So I used to have a horse like that a long time ago, that he would just stand there and freeze, and he'd do it when I was riding too, and I'd have to just like kind of wobble him loose. But does that make sense, Suzanne? Did I say that right? Try that leading exercise. It really, really works. It's huge. It's a huge thing. Yay. I'm glad you like the Fear Buster worksheet. Try it and let me know how that works. Yay, Bethany, send me a message. I actually was going to message you and ask you if you wanted to do it with me. So, because I'm looking for 25 girls. We have 9 girls from our one-on-one coaching that are in, and I can't wait to show you guys. So it's going to go through the circle of confidence, but we're going to go really deep in each exercise to work on our horsemanship as we train our horses ourselves. So I'm excited. So you guys, thank you so much for trusting me with your time. It means so much to me, and I hope that I've helped you, and I've hoped that this has served you. And if you need any help brainstorming, please message me, Jenny at horsegirl.me. If we're friends on Facebook, it's under Jen, Jen Rohlen. You can private message me, and I'm glad to help you brainstorm. So I hope this helped you, and thank you for being here with me. So love you guys so much, and I appreciate you so much. And I will talk to you tomorrow.